MamaMax is a YouTuber who is known to be the savior of kids and a fighter against predators and abusers. But MamaMax is also allegedly being investigated by the FBI. In the meantime, his whole career started to lose credibility after he started to throw some allegations without any hard proof about a vampire sex cult, plus intentionally avoiding criticism, even trying to drag his fellow YouTube friends into this mess he created so he could save face. And let's not forget the whole doxing situation from his side. This is a messy rabbit hole to dive in, because the themes of MamaMax videos I do think are very important and they need to be handled with care, mostly because of the victims but also because of the legal side of things. MamaMax made a video that shook up the YouTube community posted on 25th November 2023 with the title "This is the greatest cancellation of all time" and tagged the man himself, Moist Critical Charlie or Pink Zero, however you want to call him. Because MamaMax is known for exposing predators, what is your first thought after seeing this title and this thumbnail? That our guy Charlie is perhaps involved into child trafficking or something worse. It's no wonder that this rubbed Charlie but also many others the wrong way. Unlike MamaMax, I will try to give you a good explanation behind the things happening around his channel so you get a good understanding about the whole drama he got himself into and why this drama is quite important. And Max, please don't threaten me with YouTube strikes or that I will suffer some consequences. This is just a video that portrays your life on YouTube and reflects on the things you have done until this point where we are. Where the YouTube community really ignited the torches and started swinging pitchforks at you. Or at least that is how it seems after googling your name. This video isn't here to make fun of you in any way, but rather to bring us back a YouTuber I even looked up to in terms of style and editing. Before we really dive into the juicy stuff, we need to understand the brief background of MamaMax. I won't bother with that too much, but there are also timestamps if you want to skip this part. Before MamaMax adopted the voice of Batman and the personality from the Hotline Miami Rooster guy, he was a much different YouTuber. Now join me today as we look at MamaMax and give him the ultimate benefit of the doubt to see what is really going on here and if he for a fact created an exploitive loop call on YouTube to gain mass attentions, to help the victims, or perhaps just to feed his ego with the views and the attention he's got. From this moment I will refer to him only as Max, as I can't take him seriously anymore due to the things in recent events. Max created his channel on May 23, 2016. His channel was about a series known as the Life Sucks during the summer of 2016. In this series he talks about topics that are not necessarily enjoyable in life, as the name suggests. As time passed on, these videos were deleted and many of his recent videos suffer from the same fate, intentionally or not, or because reviewing him wasn't perhaps the best idea to do on YouTube. Also, the Life Sucks series didn't have the Batman voice and portrayed Max in a more vulnerable state, and he didn't act like a god cult leader which he thinks he is or thought he was, due to the name change of his channel.
Okay. It's okay if I do this? Because all my other videos aren't okay apparently, but this is okay, right? It better be.
Slowly, Max switched the waters and went to reviewing video games. The video games featured were his favorite games, for example the Elder Scrolls series, which is also very dear to my heart. But because the market was saturated or because he just got bored, in 2019 he switched his style again to something we would see today on his channel. The videos were sort of dark deep dives into games like Canyon Quest and its whole cult side, or SadSatan.exe, which dived into a game from the dark web and the whole background about CP. This is the time when I also discovered Max, and I really enjoyed his content, despite Max being sometimes cringe, because of his phrases like don't be scared, mama will be with you. Which is just, come on. But he slowly developed into a channel that started to expose various predators on MMOs, TikTok and so on, which is now the main direction of his channel, catching human traffickers, child predators and animal abusers. Now let's go back to the video about the biggest cancellation ever and posting Charlie's face on his thumbnail. Don't tell me you weren't fooled to think that Charlie did something very wrong because of this. Well, but he didn't. The only bad thing he did was to not answer the second he got a message from Max.
The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
And he did get a lot of messages from Max. Max, because he didn't get an answer the second he wanted, used his name and image to gain attention.
I'm reaching out not to corner you, but to share growing concerns that has been eclipsed by your usual online interactions. I believe you are fundamentally a good man. I would not be reaching out to you if I thought otherwise. However, our community faces a critical imbalance in its focus and priorities. My intention in reaching out to you, especially through private channels like Discord, was to foster a private approach to address these serious matters. Unfortunately, your silence has left me with no choice but to resort to more public forms of communication. This in of itself is symptomatic of a larger problem. This lack of dialogue among creators is not just an internal community issue. It has far-reaching consequences.
He wanted to show the world that things YouTubers do are totally unimportant and that there are more meaningful things to make videos about. He was pissed about the whole drama with Sssniperwolf, you know, the whole situation where she doxed a poor guy. More on that on my worst YouTubers iceberg chart where I covered that in depth. But Max used this as an example to make fun of the whole situation in a satirical manner.
Sssniperwolf.
Mutahar Man Monday!
What was that?
What was that? Oh!
How the video is presented, the title, the thumbnail, are still very confusing to anyone not knowing the inside story of this whole drama. But why? This was a public stunt to gain Charlie's attention, but not only his, but also people like Joe Rogan, just to reach a wider audience, which would lead them to his channel and bring light to the vampire cult trafficking thing.
Isn't just happenstance. Our priorities are not just skewed, they are deliberately enabled. The platforms themselves often benefit from keeping the masses distracted with sensational yet ultimately trivial content, shielding us from the harsh realities that require our immediate attention.
Max was very angry at the whole YouTube community because the topics around the latest gossips dominate our screens and take away precious time away from trafficking cults around the world.
Every single day, we are bombarded with headlines about celebrity feuds, influencer scandals, and the latest entertainment gossip. These stories dominate our screens, our conversations, and our minds, creating a smokescreen that hides the harsher realities faced by countless individuals around the world. Meanwhile, cults masquerade as sanctuaries in obscure corners of the internet, only to devastate minds and splinter families. Yet these pressing issues barely ripple through the surface of our social media obsession.
Because he changed the thumbnail and the title of the video, we could easily see how huge this mess got and even how much backlash he did receive because of this. The video was definitely weird, allegations were thrown, but also cringe and felt a bit exploitive. Just because his vampire cult doesn't get the exposure he thinks he needs, he simply can't state that everything else on YouTube is not important. We all can probably agree that this is true, there isn't any debate, but his approach and campaign were a bit too dramatic and too aggressive. This is a serious topic without his over-dramatization of the subject. Max paint us a picture that there isn't a single soul on YouTube covering such topics, and that he is the only one fighting a battle against predators, with making one video every 6 months, and that the majority of YouTubers are making useless content at least from his viewpoint, and in bed the whole time, and that's the reason he wasn't online, and then one day suddenly he saw how Max wanted to cancel him is definitely something insane. Now just listen what Charlie thinks of this.
Stop ignoring MamaMax. Yeah, so here, you want me to talk about it a little bit? That rubbed me the wrong way. We talked like a month ago about like what he was working on in his investigation. And then apparently when I had COVID, he messaged me a couple times and I never saw it. And now he's taken that as me ghosting him and ignoring his very important mission. And it really rubs me the wrong way. Instead of just he jumping to the most extreme possible explanation for me not seeing it, which is really fucking cringe. That did make me upset. There. Yeah, that really rubbed me the wrong way. I had COVID, and I barely used Discord in the first place. It was a miracle I ever even saw his message to begin with. And then I spent 12 days not doing anything online in bed. And during that time, apparently it changed his whole framing of the video in order to make it like a Trojan horse of cancel critical because he didn't respond to my messages and ghosted me. So yeah, that did rub me the wrong way.
Would you help Max after such action? Do you really think that Charlie would help you after exposing him in such a way on your channel? Especially as you used him as a thumbnail combined with your background of covering predators. I mean, Max didn't think about this twice. Again, he changed the title and the thumbnail shortly after posting the video. Now Sssniperwolf has the spotlight. For you who didn't understand the background of the video he made, because it's definitely confusing and I can understand some people didn't get the point of the video, Max was and still is making a case against a sex cult vampire lord called Camden Garrett Davis. If you're now thinking I doxed the poor guy, not in the slightest, but I will get to the doxing topic down the road. Garrett Davis allegedly runs a sex cult via Facebook and with a now defunct messenger called Kik. This werewolf vampire lord messaged and groomed over 100 minors, both girls and boys. A very critical character to this story is Spencer. She reached out to Max because she apparently escaped the cult and wanted to bring this crazy vampire and his cult down. Max and Spencer claimed that Garrett Davis told Spencer to move across the states to move in with him while she was still underage. The thing is that the info I gave you needs to be taken with a grain of salt, as Max isn't a guy who shares much info about this, and that's also a thing where his credibility is put to question. But the reason behind this is that Max wants you to go to Spencer's YouTube page where the guy danced for 10 hours straight for whatever reason, but also they released a 5-hour documentary podcast video about Spencer and the cult. Now, I found out that some creators have spoken out that Spencer has actually moved in with Max. And this is kind of a red flag in my opinion on several points. First, Max told us he wanted to grow a platform for Spencer, so she can tell her side of the story, if I'm correct, which she still could through Max. Secondly, Max's approach to this whole investigation feels very amateur-like, like the YouTube pick a side moment in which he wanted to raise awareness about PDFs, and I am now calling them PDFs, thanks to Turkey Tom. He was angry how YouTube decided to take down his video, and from his point of view YouTube defended PDFs. But in the reality, YouTube took down the video only because he simply violated their guidelines about harassment. He threatened the PDFs, but also indirectly YouTube with his campaign. Such an approach will not result in anything positive. Also, if there ever will be a court case built upon the mighty vampire lord, the fact the victim stayed by Max could bring problems, as he could plague the victim's thoughts. Let's say. Even thoughts she stated had a lot of places to stay, but she wanted to stay with Max. Like I said, this is such a mess of a rabbit hole, and I'm hoping you're still following my ramble because I'm trying my best to give you guys a clear explanation of all of this. This brings us to the werewolf-vampire hybrid cult leader guy. From what I can tell, and many other YouTubers, there does not appear to be any substantial evidence against this alleged PDF. My thoughts on this are not so relevant. I'm here just to point out the facts which could be gathered over the internet. Now, Max stated on many occasions that he has plenty of evidence to get him arrested, but he didn't show them. The source is just, trust me bro. Again, I'm not pretending to have any knowledge of the US law as I do not live there nor I'm a lawyer, but if Max showed us the allegations he had against him, I don't think they would harm the investigation if there is one going on in the first place. To back this up, here is a more reliable source.
I would say sit down with your lawyer again, because I've never heard any lawyer that would say that to me. Like, you know, hey, if you present this message, it's going to be invalidated, right? Like, you know, I literally released an entire call that I had with somebody just because they were threatening lawsuits against me.
So he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
How the situation was publicly presented. That doesn't mean that that call is going to be invalidated, right? Even based on technicalities, you can always take things to court.
MamaMax doesn't know shit.
So I would definitely confer with the lawyer again. There is no reason why you shouldn't be able to present that. Absolutely. And if your lawyer is telling you one thing, definitely talk to another lawyer, get a second opinion for sure.
Evidence is crucial because accusing somebody of being a PDF is a serious allegation that can ruin somebody's life. Well, if the one actually did it, then rightfully so, but if not, it can put the individual into a very messy situation. Even Max had allegations from his ex-girlfriends of being abusive, and it was later disproven as far as my knowledge goes. So he had first-hand experience about being accused of something he didn't do, and I could guess it led him to a messy situation. So the question is, why is he hiding his proofs, if there is any to begin with, besides the trust me bro source? Now, we are coming to something that is quite tasteless. But would you consider things like your private address and your full name as a private thing, especially on social platforms? Well, of course they are. A simple Google search will tell you that your full name is a private thing. Well, Max, the genius he is, decided it would be wise to contact Garrett Davis' mother and brother to ask him about him. But the madness doesn't stop here, because he proceeded to dox their full names, which led to his community starting to harass them until they get some answers. Now, meet Lerix.
Like, you're right. If Moist Critical did make a video talking about this situation, assumingly I think you were asking him to do it so more victims would potentially come out, so you could get a better case to get him, you know, just file a police report better. That's what I assume you're contacting him for. I think you're trying to force him in a sense, or try to like use this moral superiority, like guilt, like to guilt trip him into covering it at this point, which I think just makes you look bad in the whole thing and kind of trivializes the thing you're trying to call out, and having a whole bunch of people like me just roll their eyes at the situation because of the way you're covering it, which is just doing you a disservice.
At least I have your eyes though.
I mean, don't you think you've made like bigger documentaries in like hour-long videos before, and they get way more attention, way more views? It would serve better if you just made a fully fleshed out documentary explaining it. And we've seen like Moist Critical, he reacts to videos all the time on stream. I guarantee if you would make a big hour to 2 hour long documentary, sent it to Moist Critical, he would cover it, because I know a lot of people, and I know you've seen the comments too, MamaMax. You can't deny a lot of people are writing off your story just because of the way that you're covering it and the way that you're going about it. Like, you've seen that, right?
Yes, sir. Let me just read off this donation from Car Pimp. She said, "Guilt trip. I wish YouTubers cared about victims." And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. We always receive pushback. Always. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, no one likes the way you cover a specific thing, because it is a sensitive topic that is always
That's okay. I hear what you're saying. That's a really convenient way to wipe off any criticism. I guess like the difference is that it feels like you're imposing this standard, like you're trying to push this standard onto him.
First Gist Doodle donated $5 and said, Lerix, I hope you find your clout somewhere else. Please stop derailing the conversation about edgy content and minimizing the victim.
Are we reading donations? Do you want me to read my donations? Like, what are we having a conversation?
Lerix was a guy invited to a stream by Max sometime last year after the video about Charlie to have a debate / critic of all the things that happened. Lerix asked thoughtful questions which probably many of us had at the time.
After our call, you did something I found was pretty egregious, where you started to like direct your chat to tell them to go reach out to the mom and to the brother to find out information about Camden. Is that's true, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. So I think that sets a horrible standard because, like, to my knowledge, you don't have any proof that they're even involved, right? Like the mom didn't help out Camden with his potential abuse to these kids, or the brother. Like, you can't prove either of that, correct?
Correct.
Can you at least understand other people's perspective on how if you set that standard for the internet where you start involving so many other people that aren't even directly involved and they become collateral damage for something that they're not even involved with, you could see how that's an obvious, like a horrible standard to set. And now you're just involving innocent people into a crime that they didn't even commit.
I think it's a standard that should be set if the person they are going after is an actual predator who is active.
In your stream, you acknowledged on how people have doxed you before, correct? And how people, like, how that's affected your life. So you're very familiar with how the internet works. And you're very familiar that if you're telling thousands of people on a live stream that, hey, you know what, you should contact these people to get information about this file. And also, like, you're doxing the mom's name. Didn't you do that?
Saying the full name of an individual is not doxing.
What do you mean?
Lerix asked some valid questions, which some of them didn't get through to Max. It feels like he didn't take him seriously at all. Probably because Lerix is a small YouTuber and everything he says doesn't have any weight.
Again, this is another issue, guys, is we are taking the conversation that should be on child survivors and making about,
Oh, but you went about the video the wrong way. YouTube drama.
that is a pattern that continues on YouTube. Like, sorry, I'm getting passionate. I didn't want to get passionate.
Now, let's introduce the final piece to the whole mess, and that's Mutahar from SomeOrdinaryGamers, a good friend of Max, or at least we thought so. They are very good friends. Max constantly used Mutahar as a joker card, as if Mutahar say it's good evidence, it must be good evidence. We all saw the skill of research of Mutahar on many different occasions. And would anyone doubt Mutahar? Am I right? Well, I think he crossed the line because Mutahar jumped on his stream just to clear his name, and that he didn't see any hard proof. Seeing how Max behaves to Mutahar's stock and comparing it with Lerix, it's just ridiculous. Max even felt annoyed by his questions, I think, but everything that Mutahar stated were validated by him.
And I don't want to sound like I'm discounting the story, right? Because it's not what I aim to do. I'm just trying to say, like, I need to, like, the story is very confusing to somebody jumping in. So the last video you made with Charlie in the title, thumbnail, everything, one of the problems that I had was like the first 10 minutes in the beginning. It was just you showed some screenshots, and like the problem is I have to like pause constantly because you were only showing them for like half a second each time, which made it really hard to follow. And the screenshots that I did see, yeah, they were very charged, but they were lacking a lot of context that made me look into, oh, like, the thing is, the story, I don't think it necessarily needs the dramatization, because this is a vampire cult leader, allegedly, and that's enough to, like, grab a headline. But the thing is, the story needs to be told in a super cohesive manner, because I think that's what everyone's problem is, right? Like, if you'd have done that initially, easily a bunch of YouTubers, a bunch of individuals would have talked about this in a very productive manner. Because right now, the whole situation is so tainted. Everyone's wondering, everyone's turning this into, like, everyone's accusing you of over-dramatizing this situation, or, you know, going about it the wrong way by reaching out to YouTubers without having a solid story to start off with, or you know, and that's the real issue.
Yeah, I assumed everyone was, if they wanted to know more, they would just go to the podcast, because that was to help Spencer build their own platform. But I do understand that not everyone's going to click on the podcast or watch the whole 5 hours. But thank you so much for sharing that with me. I definitely needed to hear that.
And before we end this whole topic with Mutahar from Some Ordinary Gamers, I just want you to listen to one more phone call to get a good grasp about the situation between MamaMax and Mutahar. And then I will let Mutahar off the hook for this video.
Yeah, my thing is, like, when he says my name, it's like, I've reviewed the evidence. It's like, I never said the evidence was good evidence. I mean, I didn't even say much in that server.
Even with Max, it's like, and I'll just say it right now, privately, he sent me the whole message where it's like me appearing on Tommy and fucking Lerix's stream. They had it. A lot of, I guess, people in that server had a doubt, and it's like, I'm not showing up on these people's stream to like crap on you or anything. That's not a thing. Lerix, for all things considered, yeah, he's like a more raunchy guy, but I chalk that more up to his youth than anything. But what he's saying isn't necessarily out of pocket, you know. I might just be saying what Lerix is saying with like more maturity applied to it, I guess is the best way to put it. But Lerix wasn't wrong, right? Like, you got to have evidence. You got to make sure you don't go into these situations 100% on emotion. And that's it. Nobody's poking holes in Max for the sake of poking holes. It's poking holes for the sake of reaching out to these people that are working with him. That, like, if you actually want real justice, it is really time to reach out and work with actual law enforcement agents versus putting your stock into a YouTube channel. Because right now, these girls aren't going to get any justice at all. That's what I personally believe at this point. These
I think
girls
that every day they spend with him, they're a day closer to being in a civil suit with them being on the opposite side of it than they are in a situation where that guy's going to go to jail.
This is going to be the one thing that is going to sound so controversial to his camp. There's a chance that Camden Gerard Davis could even be an innocent individual.
Yeah. No, and I think
that's a reality that everyone has to deal with, and it's not a reality that people should put their nose up to.
There is nothing that indicatively hits in this situation, and that's really where we're at right now. Max, if you're watching this, and I have to imagine you are, you've made a very, very, very poor documentary of this whole situation. And if anything, these girls, when their case isn't going to be taken seriously, once again, there's a good chance it won't be, very good chance, that's 100% entirely on you.
Now comes the banger to end this all. Look at this.
You revealed the name of a survivor who wished to remain anonymous. Which, to give all the context, what he's talking about here is this clip he sends me in Discord is a clip of me showing the Discord call that I had with MamaMax on stream. And the Discord call happened to show the real name of one of the victims. This genius survivor decided to, like, she had a fake name on Max's stream. She went by a fake alias when she was telling her story. But the genius didn't, like, have the idea to change her Discord name. So, like, when I joined the call, it showed up as her name in the call. It's not my mistake for showing the Discord call live on stream. You should have thought about this beforehand. And also, apparently, that's Max's excuse for him privating his VOD. Like, as I'm going to go over in more of these DMs, he says the reason why he privated his VOD was because of that he leaked the name too, and because of privacy concerns. If this issue isn't addressed promptly, we will need to contact our YouTube partner manager. Whatever. At the end of the day, he's talking to me very weird and he's threatening to strike me. But at the end of the day, if it's a concern on doxing someone's name or releasing someone's name, that's a fine request. I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, I'll just re-upload it and I'll censor the name.
Yes, Max basically threatened Lerix to strike his channel because of a mistake made not by Lerix, but by Max. How would Lerix ever know that the names on the Discord channels were the real names of the victim? You see how absurd this is? Apparently Max stated that he was under FBI's investigation. This is because of his mega upload count. It's a cloud service where you can upload stuff so people can download things from it. But again, Max is prompting a 3-hour-long documentary, and many people don't know if this is something he made up just to drive the hype behind the documentary, or if it's something genuinely real. But the thing that is real is that his account was deleted, and look at this pretty image. Some think that this is because Max had some illegal videos that were flagged by the FBI and that's why his account was deleted, but this is still very unclear right now. As clickbaity as was the MamaMax thumbnail, so is this timestamp. Max made many poor decisions in recent times, which were carefully laid in front of you in this video. At least I thought I did it that way. From accusing Garrett Davis without any hard proof to doxing his family, to make it even worse, using your fanbase to press for info is the wildest thing ever. His family should have been completely left out of this. Whatever he is, a vampire werewolf hybrid lore guy or whatever he identifies with, they have nothing to do with his actions. The approach that every YouTuber is basically taking away time from your precious content, at least you are portraying this in that way, it is just absurd. And this only gets worse the longer this whole fiasco goes on. Please don't get me wrong, I do think that the themes of Max's video are very important and they definitely need exposure, and there are so many unreported cases around the world that desperately need attention from the side of law and the public eye, but his recent approach to this was very wrong. I don't want to see Max getting cancelled over this. I generally think he is a good guy with good intentions, but does he need a new approach and needs to set aside his ego? Yes, definitely. But he needs to stop making public outcries, shaming other creators, or dragging his so-called friends into this just to back him up on things he doesn't have any proof. Even if the themes in his video are very serious, they need to be handled with care because of the victims and survivors. He doesn't need to make this more dramatic than it already is. This so-called Dracula hyena mix mash is already quite bizarre and you don't need to turn into Batman to be the hero of Gotham. And even trying to dismiss smaller creators for calling you out is just ridiculous. Max, this isn't a path you wanna take. I feel that many videos were made against you. Or heck, perhaps I misinterpreted them. But can Max steer this boat of absurdity in the right way? A direction where he can help his victims, where he can help Spencer and any other out there who needs his help or the help of the community he built. Can he still use his energy and his community to gather evidence based on hard facts without any harassment and present them in a way where a normal viewer can understand them and not putting like 1 second screenshots in your videos to make subliminal messages or whatever, and then finally use the gathered evidence to send them to the FBI or a police or a reporter which will take him seriously? I don't know, I really don't know what to say else. This is a way he could get attention. I also think that other creators will cover his story, and if Max would use this strategy, perhaps many other creators will cover his story and he would get the attention he needs, but in a good way. Not only Max, but also the victims who reach out to him. But that's all from me now. Again, I hope that I have given you a good general idea about this situation about Max. And why do I think this is a very serious topic that needs to be addressed? Again, I want to hear your opinions because I'm very curious. Well, that's all from me now, and I hope I will see you in the next one.